Hello friends, welcome to Book Bites. Today, we'll talk about The Power of Habit book by Charles Duhigg. Habits shape our lives in more ways than we often realize. From the moment we wake up to the way we go to bed, our brains rely on automatic patterns, habits that save energy and help us function efficiently. In The Power of Habit, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Charles Duhigg explores the science behind why habits exist, how they work, and how we can change them to transform our lives, our organizations, and even our societies. The book is divided into 3 parts: individual habits, organizational habits, and societal habits. It uses real-life examples, psychological research, and case studies to explain how habits are formed and altered. One of the book's core ideas is the habit loop, which consists of a cue, a routine, and a reward. Understanding this loop is key to unlocking the ability to consciously change any habit. Duhigg emphasizes that habits aren't destiny. With awareness and intention, we can reprogram our brains. He discusses the concept of keystone habits, habits that once changed can trigger widespread transformation in other areas of life. For instance, exercising regularly can lead to better eating habits, improved productivity, and reduced stress. These keystone habits become the foundation for broader personal and professional growth. In organizations, Duhigg reveals how companies like Starbucks, Alcoa, and Target have harnessed the power of habit to boost performance and profits. These institutions often rely on routines that employees follow unconsciously, but when those routines are intentionally shaped, it can lead to cultural revolutions and remarkable outcomes. Leaders who understand how habits function can use this knowledge to drive innovation and success. The final section of the book looks at habits in society and how social movements, like the civil rights movement, gain momentum and become powerful forces for change. It's not just about personal willpower, it's about systems and the environment that sustain new behaviors. Duhigg makes a compelling case that lasting transformation, whether personal or collective, starts with small, consistent changes grounded in habit formation. At its core, The Power of Habit is an empowering guide. It doesn't just explain the science of habits, it provides a framework for change. Whether you're looking to lose weight, be more productive, build a successful business, or change your community, this book lays out how you can identify, change, and harness the power of habits to achieve your goals. It's not about making drastic changes overnight, but rather understanding how tiny changes, when repeated consistently, can lead to remarkable results over time. Let's explore the concepts of the book, breaking them down point by point, and refining the explanation to ensure clarity and precision. Point 1. Understanding the habit loop. Cue, routine, reward. At the heart of The Power of Habit lies one of its most fundamental concepts, the habit loop. This 3-step cycle, cue, routine, and reward, is the framework that governs all habits, whether simple or complex, beneficial or harmful. Charles Duhigg introduces this model to explain how habits form and how they can be changed by manipulating just one element of the loop. Let's break this down. 1. Cue, the trigger that starts the habit. A cue is the signal or trigger that tells your brain to initiate a behavior. This can be almost anything: a time of day, an emotional state, a particular place, the presence of certain people, or even a preceding action. For example, seeing a donut box in the office kitchen might trigger the urge to eat a sweet snack even if you're not hungry. Cues are important because our brains are constantly scanning the environment for patterns that will help automate responses. By identifying these cues, the brain can shift into a sort of autopilot, conserving mental energy. 2. Routine, the behavior itself. The routine is the actual behavior or action taken in response to the cue. This can be physical, eating a donut, mental, daydreaming, or emotional, feeling anxious. It's the most visible part of the habit loop and what we typically refer to when we think of habits. Over time, routines become ingrained. We may perform them without even realizing it. That's why changing a habit can feel so difficult, because our brains are wired to perform these actions automatically after receiving the cue. 3. Reward, the benefit that reinforces the habit. The final step is the reward, which serves to reinforce the behavior. It tells the brain that the routine is worth remembering. Rewards can be as simple as a burst of pleasure, sugar rush from a snack, relief, stress reduction from smoking, or a sense of accomplishment, checking off a task on your to-do list. What's powerful about rewards is that they strengthen the loop over time. The brain begins to crave the reward when it sees the cue, which further embeds the routine. Real-life example, afternoon coffee. Let's say you develop a habit of drinking coffee every afternoon around 3 p.m. The cue might be the clock hitting 3 p.m. or a feeling of fatigue. The routine is walking to the kitchen and making coffee. The reward is the energy boost or the comforting ritual of sipping coffee. After repeating this for several days, your brain starts associating 3 p.m. with a caffeine reward. Soon you crave coffee at that exact time every day. Why this loop matters? Understanding the habit loop is the first step in changing a habit. As Duhigg emphasizes, you don't have to eliminate a habit entirely to transform your life. You simply need to change the routine while keeping the cue and the reward the same. For instance, if someone wants to stop snacking unhealthily in the afternoon, they could identify that the cue is boredom or stress, and the reward is distraction or pleasure. By replacing the routine, eating chips, with a healthier one, taking a short walk or eating fruit, and still achieving the same reward, the habit can be reshaped. The role of craving. Later in the book, Duhigg also talks about how craving becomes part of the loop. Once a habit is established, your brain begins to anticipate the reward the moment it sees the cue. This craving is what makes habits so hard to break, but it's also what gives us the power to build new ones. If we learn to crave a healthier routine, the habit becomes easier to stick to. Final thoughts on the habit loop. The simplicity of the habit loop is what makes it so powerful. Once you start seeing your behaviors in terms of cue, routine, and reward, you gain the ability to deconstruct and consciously alter the habits that no longer serve you. This framework applies not only to individuals, but to companies, organizations, and entire cultures. Whether you're trying to quit smoking, build a gym routine, or improve workplace productivity, understanding and leveraging the habit loop is your first and most crucial step. Point 2. The golden rule of habit change. Keep the cue and reward, change the routine. One of the most powerful lessons in the power of habit is what Charles Duhigg calls the golden rule of habit change. You can't extinguish a bad habit, but you can change it. This rule builds upon the idea of the habit loop, cue, routine, reward, discussed in point 1. The golden rule states that to change a habit successfully, you must keep the same cue and reward, but substitute a new routine. This approach is both practical and scientifically grounded, and it has helped countless people and even entire organizations transform their lives. Why habits can't be erased? Our brains are incredibly efficient. Once a habit is formed, it gets stored in the basal ganglia, a deep part of the brain responsible for automatic behaviors. What's important to understand here is that habits never really disappear. They remain embedded in our neural circuitry, lying dormant even when we think we've stopped them. That's why people who quit smoking or drinking often feel the temptation resurface during stress or major life changes, because the old habit loop still exists. So the key is not to try and delete a habit, but rather to redirect it. We must identify the cue and the reward that drive the habit, and then replace the middle step, the routine, with something healthier or more productive. Real-life example, replacing a smoking habit. Let's say someone smokes a cigarette every evening after dinner. The cue might be finishing their meal, and the reward could be the feeling of relaxation. According to the golden rule, instead of fighting the urge to smoke, the person should keep the cue finishing dinner and reward relaxation the same, but change the routine. They might replace the cigarette with a walk, meditation, or a hot cup of tea, something that provides the same sense of relaxation, but without the harmful effects. Over time, as the brain starts associating the cue with the new routine and still experiences the reward, a new habit can take root, gradually overriding the old one. The power of awareness and experimentation. To apply this rule, one must become consciously aware of their habits. This involves experimenting to uncover what specific cues and rewards are driving a particular routine. For example, if you eat a cookie every afternoon, you might ask yourself, is the cue the time of day? Is it boredom or stress? Is the reward the taste, the break from work, or socializing with colleagues? Duhigg suggests trying out alternative routines that provide the same reward. Maybe taking a short walk gives you the same mental break. Maybe chatting with a coworker satisfies your social craving. Once you find an alternative that works, your brain will begin to form a new habit loop, rooted in the same cue and reward, but with a healthier behavior. Case study, Alcoholics Anonymous AA. A compelling example from the book is Alcoholics Anonymous AA. While AA has a spiritual foundation, much of its success lies in the way it applies the golden rule. Members keep their same cues, stress, emotional pain, boredom, and still seek the same reward, emotional relief, but they replace the drinking routine with meetings, support groups, and a sense of community. Over time, this new routine becomes just as automatic as the old one. Belief and habit change. Duhigg also emphasizes that belief is often the missing ingredient. Many people try to change habits but relapse when they stop believing change is possible. In AA and other successful programs, social support and shared belief systems create the faith necessary to maintain habit change. Once people believe they can change and see others doing it, it becomes easier to sustain the new routine. Final thoughts on the golden rule. The golden rule of habit change is deceptively simple but immensely powerful. By keeping the cue and reward in place and swapping out the routine, we work with the brain's natural wiring rather than against it. This approach turns habit change from a willpower battle into a strategic rewiring process. Whether you're trying to eat healthier, reduce screen time, or eliminate procrastination, the secret isn't to erase your bad habits, but to transform them from the inside out. Point 3. Keystone habits, the habits that matter most. In The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg introduces the idea of keystone habits, a transformative concept that underscores how certain habits can spark widespread change across various areas of our lives. Unlike ordinary habits, keystone habits have the power to influence and reshape other habits. They act like a chain reaction, creating positive ripple effects that extend beyond the habit itself. Understanding and cultivating these keystone habits can be the key to personal growth, professional success, and lasting behavioral transformation. What are keystone habits? A keystone habit is a behavior that, when changed or adopted, unintentionally leads to positive changes in many other areas. It's like the domino that knocks over others. These habits have the ability to shift how we see ourselves, how we make decisions, and how we prioritize actions. For example, regular exercise is a commonly cited keystone habit. People who begin exercising not only get fitter, they often start eating better, sleeping more, becoming more productive at work, and even feeling more confident in social situations. The initial habit of working out triggers a chain of positive behaviors and mindset shifts. The power of identity and keystone habits. Keystone habits are powerful because they influence our sense of identity. When someone adopts a new habit like journaling, meditation, or waking up early, they start to see themselves differently, perhaps as someone who is more disciplined, self-aware, or motivated. This new self-perception affects how they behave in other contexts. It becomes a self-reinforcing cycle. The more they act according to their new identity, the stronger that identity becomes. For instance, someone who starts budgeting and tracking their expenses may begin to feel more responsible and in control. That identity might then encourage them to save money, plan for the future, and even change their career goals, all stemming from the single keystone habit of budgeting. Keystone habits in organizations. Duhigg doesn't stop at individuals. He also explores how keystone habits work in organizations. One of the most compelling examples is Alcoa, a struggling aluminum company. When Paul O'Neill became CEO, he didn't start by talking about profits or productivity. Instead, he focused on one thing: worker safety. By making safety the number one priority, a keystone habit was born. Managers had to streamline communication, improve efficiency, and foster transparency, all in the name of safety. Ironically, as safety improved, so did productivity, employee morale, and ultimately, profits. The keystone habit of safety transformed the entire culture. The science behind keystone habits. From a neuroscience perspective, keystone habits work because they engage our reward systems and create emotional momentum. These habits often generate small wins, which are crucial for sustaining motivation. These wins trigger dopamine responses in the brain, which reinforce the behavior and make us more likely to repeat it. Over time, these small victories create a foundation of success that supports bigger changes. Practical tips to identify your keystone habits. If you want to create lasting change, the key is to find and focus on your own keystone habits. Here are some ways to identify them. 1. Track your behaviors and look for habits that seem to influence others. For example, if making your bed in the morning leads you to be more organized all day, that's a keystone habit. 2. Ask yourself, which habit, if changed, would have the greatest impact on my life or my goals? 3. Experiment with new routines and observe the ripple effect. You'll often discover that one small change leads to many others. Once you've identified a keystone habit, nurture it consistently. Even on days when motivation is low, maintaining that habit can keep you grounded and in control. Final thoughts on keystone habits. Keystone habits are not just good habits, they're the right habits to focus on. They provide a leverage point for dramatic sustainable transformation. By building your life around a few powerful keystone habits, you can make everything else easier. These habits help shape your decisions, unlock potential, and bring coherence to the chaos of everyday behavior. As Duhigg puts it, understanding keystone habits is like discovering the secret to unlocking willpower, motivation, and personal change. Point 4. The role of willpower in habit formation. In The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg emphasizes that willpower is one of the most important factors in shaping and changing habits. However, it's not about simply forcing ourselves to do something. Willpower, when properly understood and used, can become a tool that reinforces positive habits and helps us break bad ones. The key to harnessing willpower lies in understanding how it works, when it's most effective, and how to structure our environments to make it easier for us to act according to our goals. Understanding willpower as a limited resource. One of the most important insights in the book is that willpower is not unlimited. Just like a muscle, willpower can get fatigued over time. Duhigg explains that willpower is a finite resource. The more decisions you make during the day, the more likely you are to experience decision fatigue, which reduces your ability to control impulses and maintain self-discipline. This phenomenon is often referred to as the willpower depletion effect. Studies have shown that after a long day of making difficult decisions, people have a harder time sticking to healthy habits or resisting temptations. For example, someone who has spent all day at work making high-stakes decisions might find it harder to resist the urge to eat unhealthy food or skip a workout at the end of the day. The importance of willpower routines. To overcome the limitations of willpower, Duhigg argues that it's important to build willpower routines. These are behaviors that don't require much mental effort because they become automatic. Once a behavior is habitual, it no longer relies on active decision-making or willpower. Instead, the habit loop takes over. For example, a person who wants to exercise every morning might begin by preparing their gym clothes the night before. By setting up the environment for success, they reduce the mental effort required the next morning. The willpower required to start exercising becomes minimal because the behavior has become routine. The power of keystone willpower habits. Just as there are keystone habits, there are also keystone willpower habits. These habits have a compounding effect on your ability to manage other habits in your life. One well-established keystone willpower habit is exercising regularly. Studies have shown that people who make exercise a regular part of their routine are often more successful in other areas of life, including eating healthier, sleeping better, and managing stress more effectively. This happens because exercise has a physiological effect on the brain, boosting the production of certain chemicals like dopamine and serotonin, which improve mood and focus. Over time, regular exercise can create a sense of accomplishment and self-control, increasing overall willpower, and the importance of planning for temptations. Another key aspect of willpower is planning for moments of temptation. Duhigg emphasizes that willpower works best when we anticipate challenges in advance and structure our environment to make it easier to succeed. For example, if someone is trying to avoid junk food, it's more effective to not have it readily available in the house rather than relying on sheer willpower to resist it when tempted. This is why many successful people have set routines and habits that minimize their need to exercise willpower. For example, successful people don't leave important decisions to chance. They make proactive choices about when and how to exercise their willpower. They anticipate temptations and make decisions ahead of time that reduce their chances of giving in to poor habits. The power of small wins and willpower. One of the most powerful insights about willpower is that small wins have an outsized effect on our ability to maintain control. The principle of small wins suggests that taking small steps toward a larger goal helps create momentum. Each small success makes us feel more empowered and increases our belief that we can achieve our larger goals. For example, if your goal is to write a book, simply writing a page a day might seem insignificant. But this small win contributes to your overall sense of progress. Over time, the momentum created by these small wins makes it easier to tackle larger, more difficult tasks without relying heavily on willpower and the habit loop. Duhigg also ties the concept of willpower to the habit loop, the cycle of cue, routine, and reward that drives behavior. A powerful way to increase willpower is to make the behavior you want to build into a habit loop. The more a behavior becomes a habit, the less it will rely on willpower because it will become automatic. For example, if you want to read more books, you can make it a habit to read every night before bed. At first, You may need to use willpower to begin reading, but as you continue the behavior, it will become part of your routine. Eventually, the habit loop will take over, and you won't need as much willpower to maintain the behavior. Conclusion: harnessing willpower for success. The role of willpower in habit formation is crucial, but it's also important to recognize its limitations. Willpower is finite, and over-relying on it can lead to burnout or failure. By building willpower routines, anticipating challenges, and focusing on small wins, we can conserve and strengthen our willpower over time. As we make positive habits automatic, we free up our willpower to focus on new challenges. In this way, willpower works best when it's used strategically and in combination with the right habits. Point 5. The power of craving and how it shapes habits. In The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg explores how cravings play a crucial role in habit formation and reinforcement. A craving is not just a desire, it's a deep-seated psychological need that drives our behavior and influences the choices we make. By understanding the role of cravings in the habit loop, we can gain insights into how our habits are formed, maintained, and altered. This concept is key to not only creating new, healthy habits, but also breaking the grip of unhealthy ones, the habit loop, and the role of craving. At the core of every habit is a three-part loop: cue, routine, and reward. But it's the craving for the reward that fuels this cycle and makes us repeat the behavior over and over. The habit loop works like this. 1. Cue, something triggers the desire to perform a behavior. 2. Routine. We engage in the behavior, whether it's eating a snack, smoking a cigarette, or checking our phone. 3. Reward. After completing the routine, we receive some form of satisfaction, whether physical, a sugar rush for example, or emotional, a sense of accomplishment, stress relief, or comfort. What makes the cycle more powerful is the craving that develops for the reward. Over time, as we continue to perform a behavior and experience a pleasurable reward, the brain starts to anticipate that reward and craves it. It's not just the outcome that is appealing, it's the idea of the outcome that becomes irresistible. Cravings as the fuel for habitual behavior. The craving is the psychological force that creates a desire to repeat the action. It's not just the actual reward that keeps us coming back, it's the anticipation and the emotional experience tied to the reward. For example, when you grab a cup of coffee in the morning, it's not just about the caffeine boost, though that's part of it, it's also about the moment of comfort, the warm feeling of holding the cup, or the break it offers in your busy routine. These emotional experiences fuel the craving, making you want to repeat the behavior the next day. This craving also creates neurological patterns. When the brain associates a particular behavior with a reward, it strengthens the connection between them. Over time, the behavior becomes automatic because the craving intensifies, driving you to act without thinking about it. This is why people who try to quit smoking or lose weight find it so difficult. Their brains have associated smoking or overeating with a deeply ingrained craving for the reward. How cravings reinforce positive and negative habits. Cravings are not just limited to negative habits like smoking or drinking. They are also crucial in creating and reinforcing positive habits. For example, if you start exercising and notice an improvement in your energy levels and mood, you'll likely experience a craving for that boost. The desire for the positive feelings that exercise brings, such as stress relief, increased energy, and a sense of accomplishment, will keep you returning to your workout routine. Conversely, when craving is attached to negative behaviors, it leads to compulsive habits. For instance, if a person eats junk food when they feel stressed and experiences a temporary feeling of relief, they start to crave the food every time stress arises. The craving for stress relief becomes the cue for the behavior, reinforcing the cycle and making it harder to break. The role of craving in business and marketing. Duhigg also explores how businesses use cravings to influence consumer behavior. Companies that produce products, especially addictive ones like fast food, coffee, or social media platforms, understand how cravings work and design their products and marketing strategies accordingly. The goal is to trigger emotional cravings that make customers feel an intense desire to return. For example, social media platforms like Facebook or Instagram rely heavily on variable rewards to keep users engaged. The uncertainty of what will appear in your feed, or the unpredictable nature of likes and comments, triggers cravings for the next social reward. This use of variable rewards is a powerful tool because it keeps people coming back repeatedly, seeking the next hit of social validation or connection. Changing cravings to change habits. The key to changing habits, according to Duhigg, lies in altering the craving attached to a habit loop. By changing the way you perceive the reward or by swapping the craving for something healthier, you can rewrite the habit loop. For example, instead of craving the sugar rush from a candy bar, you might begin to crave the energy and satisfaction you get from a nutritious snack. This is where mindfulness and awareness of your cravings come into play. By consciously choosing to replace the emotional craving for unhealthy rewards with more positive cravings, you rewire your brain to seek healthier alternatives. Practical application: identifying and replacing cravings. To harness the power of craving in your own life, you need to start by identifying the cravings behind your habits. Ask yourself questions like, what do I crave when I engage in this habit? What emotions does this habit satisfy or relieve? How can I replace the current craving with something healthier? Once you identify the underlying craving, you can begin to experiment with alternatives that provide a similar reward, but in a healthier, more productive way. For instance, instead of craving the momentary stress relief from junk food, you might develop a craving for meditation or a brisk walk, which can also reduce stress and provide mental clarity. Conclusion: the power of craving in habit formation. Cravings are the driving force behind our habits, and understanding them is key to shaping and changing those habits. When we understand how cravings develop and how they can be manipulated, we gain the ability to create positive habits and eliminate negative ones. By altering the way we crave rewards, we can take control of the habit loops in our lives, leading to greater well-being and personal growth. Point 6. The role of belief in habit change. One of the most profound ideas in the power of habit is the importance of belief in making lasting changes to our habits. While many people believe that habit change comes from sheer willpower or effort alone, Duhigg suggests that belief is often the key to success in creating new habits or breaking old ones. This concept underscores the psychological and emotional side of habit change, which is just as important as the physical and behavioral aspects. The power of belief in the habit loop. In the book, Duhigg illustrates that belief is what allows people to maintain habits long enough for them to become automatic. Without belief in our ability to change, or without believing that the habit will lead to a positive outcome, it's hard to sustain the efforts needed to turn a new behavior into a consistent routine. Essentially, belief provides the psychological motivation and confidence that encourages perseverance and commitment. In fact, belief is a crucial ingredient for the habit loop to work. When people don't believe that they can change or that the reward is achievable, they tend to fall off the path of their new habit. This explains why many people who start a new habit with excitement often quit shortly afterward. The absence of belief makes it difficult to navigate the setbacks that occur during the habit-building process. Belief in the power of change. One example that Duhigg uses to highlight the role of belief in habit change is the story of Alcoholics Anonymous, AA. For many people struggling with alcoholism, the central belief that helps them succeed in overcoming their addiction is the belief in a higher power or a supportive community. The AA program's emphasis on collective belief, the idea that individuals are not alone in their struggles and that change is possible through community support, helps many people maintain their sobriety. In AA, the act of believing in the possibility of change is often enough to help individuals push through their initial struggles and keep returning to the program. It's this belief that creates the emotional resilience necessary to combat the temptations and triggers that would otherwise derail their efforts. The role of community support and collective belief. Duhigg further elaborates on how community support strengthens belief. Research has shown that people who change their habits in a supportive environment, such as a group of friends, family members, or a team, are far more successful in sustaining those changes. This is because the shared belief in the group creates a sense of accountability and emotional connection, which reinforces the individual's personal belief in their ability to succeed. This principle is widely applicable in various contexts, whether it's a weight loss support group, a fitness team, or a corporate environment where employees encourage each other to develop new productive habits. The power of collective belief makes it easier to adopt new behaviors as people begin to feed off each other's encouragement, support, and shared belief in success. The importance of small wins in building belief. One of the most effective ways to build belief is through small wins. These are small incremental successes that accumulate over time, leading to a larger sense of achievement. Each small victory helps to strengthen belief in the process and provides evidence that change is possible. For example, if you're trying to build a habit of exercising, rather than focusing on the final goal of losing weight or getting stronger, you might celebrate the small win of simply completing a workout. This small success helps reinforce the belief that you are capable of change. Over time, the accumulation of these small wins will create a powerful sense of self-efficacy, the belief that you have the ability to control your behavior and achieve your desired results. The power of identity and belief. Another important aspect of belief in habit change is the role that identity plays. Duhigg highlights the idea that we act in alignment with the person we believe ourselves to be. For instance, a person who identifies as a healthy eater or a regular exerciser is more likely to engage in behaviors that align with that identity. The belief that this is who I am drives actions and decisions that reinforce that identity. In this way, habit change becomes part of the self-image. When you begin to believe that you are someone who enjoys working out, or someone who makes healthy food choices, your behavior will naturally align with that belief. The key to lasting change, then, is not just focusing on changing actions, but also shifting your self-perception. By focusing on the identity you want to build, you will find it easier to sustain the habits that support that identity. How to cultivate belief in habit change? There are several strategies that can help individuals strengthen their belief in their ability to change their habits. 1. Start with small, achievable goals. By setting small, realistic goals, you build confidence in your ability to achieve them. Each small success creates the belief that bigger changes are possible. 2. Develop a positive narrative. Instead of focusing on past failures, create a new narrative where you are someone capable of change. For example, say to yourself, I am someone who makes healthy choices, rather than, I can never stick to a diet. 3. Find a support system. Surround yourself with people who believe in your ability to change. Whether it's a friend, a mentor, or a group of like-minded individuals, having a support system can help reinforce your belief. 4. Celebrate small wins. Each time you succeed in sticking to a new habit, celebrate the success. This helps reinforce the belief that you are making progress and that change is within reach. 5. Visualize your success. Take time each day to visualize the person you want to become. Whether it's imagining yourself completing a workout or seeing yourself as a successful professional, visualization can strengthen the belief that change is possible. Conclusion: belief is the foundation of habit change. Belief is a crucial component in the process of habit formation and change. Without belief in yourself and the process, it's difficult to sustain the effort needed to create lasting habits. By cultivating belief through small wins, positive self-talk, and support from others, you can empower yourself to make lasting changes. Ultimately, belief is the foundation upon which lasting habits are built. Point 7. The importance of willpower and how it works. One of the most fundamental concepts in the power of habit is the idea that willpower plays a crucial role in habit formation and habit change. However, Duhigg explains that willpower isn't a simple, unlimited resource that people either have or don't have. Instead, he presents a more nuanced view where willpower is something that can be trained, used strategically, and is influenced by the context and environment around us. Willpower as a muscle, limited but trainable. Duhigg explains that willpower works in much the same way as a muscle. It can become depleted through overuse, but can also be strengthened over time. When people face challenging situations, such as resisting temptations or sticking to a goal, their willpower is tested. Just like a muscle, if we constantly push our willpower to the limit, it can get fatigued, leading to what is called decision fatigue. This is when people make poor decisions or give up on their goals because their mental energy has been drained. However, the good news is that, just like muscles, willpower can be trained and strengthened. Over time, with the right strategies and techniques, individuals can learn how to increase their capacity for willpower, enabling them to make better choices and stick to their habits more consistently. Duhigg illustrates this concept with research studies and examples, showing how people who focus on small, deliberate efforts to build their willpower, like resisting minor temptations, practicing self-control, or following a disciplined routine, can gradually improve their ability to exert self-control in more challenging situations. The willpower myth: it's not just about saying no. One of the biggest misconceptions people have about willpower is that it's all about saying no to things. In other words, many believe that willpower is about resisting temptation and avoiding distractions. However, Duhigg explains that willpower is not just about saying no. It's about learning how to structure our environment, make better choices, and create a routine that works in our favor. For example, rather than relying solely on willpower to resist unhealthy foods, you can set up your environment to make healthier options more convenient. By preparing nutritious snacks in advance or eliminating junk food from your home, you reduce the reliance on willpower to make good choices. This way, you're creating a structure that supports the habit you want to build. Duhigg also explains that a large part of willpower involves deciding in advance what your behaviors will be, rather than making decisions on the spot. For instance, deciding ahead of time to avoid sugary drinks or to go to the gym after work is more effective than deciding when you're already hungry, tired, or tempted. The role of routine in managing willpower. Willpower is most effective when it's used as part of a routine. According to Duhigg, individuals who create structured routines around their habits don't have to rely on willpower as much because their actions become automatic. This is why successful individuals often have strong routines. They've built systems that require little to no active effort or decision-making. For example, successful people like athletes, CEOs, and top performers tend to have highly structured schedules. They create habits that don't require them to use their willpower to stay on track, because they've made those behaviors automatic. Willpower is reserved for situations where something unexpected or out of the ordinary occurs. In one of the studies Duhigg cites, it was found that people who have regular routines in place, such as exercising at the same time every day or eating meals at predictable intervals, are better able to avoid bad habits and stick to their goals. This reduces the mental effort required to make good decisions because their habits are already well established. How to strengthen willpower? Duhigg outlines a few strategies for improving willpower that can help anyone strengthen their ability to follow through on their goals. 1. Practice small acts of self-control. Just as muscles get stronger through repetition, willpower is built by continually practicing small acts of self-control. For example, you could start by resisting small temptations, like saying no to an extra cookie or sticking to a budget. Over time, these small victories will strengthen your willpower and increase your self-control. 2. Use if-then planning. One of the most effective strategies for managing willpower is creating a plan for how you will respond to temptation. If-then planning involves deciding in advance how you will handle specific situations. For example, if I feel the urge to check my phone during work, then I will take a 5-minute walk instead. By having a clear plan for how to respond to distractions, you reduce the mental strain of making decisions in the moment. 3. Set specific goals and track your progress. Setting clear, specific goals gives you something to focus on, and tracking your progress can help you stay motivated. Duhigg points out that people who keep track of their habits are more likely to succeed because they are able to see their progress over time and make adjustments when needed. 4. Rest and recharge. Just like any muscle, willpower needs time to recover. Taking regular breaks, getting enough sleep, and engaging in activities that recharge you, such as meditation or spending time with loved ones, are crucial for maintaining strong willpower. When your willpower is depleted, it becomes harder to resist temptation and stick to your habits. Willpower and the habit loop. Duhigg also connects the concept of willpower to the habit loop. He explains that willpower plays a key role in changing the routine part of the habit loop. By practicing self-control and making intentional choices, you can interrupt negative habits and replace them with positive ones. The process of changing a habit often involves using willpower to resist the old routine and replace it with a new one. For example, if you're trying to break the habit of checking your phone every few minutes, you can use willpower to insert a new routine, like taking a deep breath or writing a to-do list each time the urge to check your phone arises. Over time, the new routine becomes automatic, and you no longer need to rely on willpower to make that decision. Conclusion. Willpower is a powerful tool in habit formation and change, but it's not infinite. By understanding how willpower works and using strategies to strengthen and conserve it, you can make lasting changes to your habits. Creating routines, planning ahead, and practicing small acts of self-control will help you build the mental resilience needed to overcome challenges and achieve your goals. Point 8. The importance of belief in change. In the power of habit, one of the central ideas is that belief is a crucial factor in successfully changing habits. In fact, Duhigg emphasizes that believing in the possibility of change is often the first step in the process of transforming one's habits, whether that involves personal behavior, organizational changes, or even societal shifts. The role of belief in habit change. Duhigg explains that belief works as a foundational element in the habit loop. For a person to change a habit, they must first believe that change is possible. Without this belief, it becomes difficult to sustain the effort required to modify behaviors. Belief acts as the catalyst that propels individuals to take action and make consistent efforts to break old habits and replace them with new ones. This belief is especially important because the process of habit change is often slow and requires persistence. Whether we are trying to break a bad habit like smoking or establish a new habit like exercising regularly, the path to change is usually full of challenges and setbacks. If we don't believe that change is possible, it becomes easier to give up when faced with obstacles. The power of social support and shared beliefs. One of the most compelling aspects of belief, as Duhigg discusses, is that social support can significantly amplify an individual's belief in the possibility of change. Human beings are social creatures, and our beliefs are often shaped by those around us. When we see others succeeding in overcoming similar challenges, we are more likely to believe that we can achieve the same success. For example, Duhigg shares the story of Alcoholics Anonymous, AA, a well-known support group that has been successful in helping people break their addiction to alcohol. In AA, the collective belief of the group plays a central role in the process. By participating in the group and hearing the stories of others who have successfully overcome their addiction, individuals strengthen their own belief in the possibility of change. This shared belief creates a sense of community and encourages individuals to persist in their efforts to break free from destructive habits. The key here is that social support is not just about encouragement, it's about creating a sense of shared experience and collective belief that change is possible. People are more likely to adopt new behaviors when they are supported by a group of people who are all working towards similar goals. How to build and strengthen belief. Duhigg offers several strategies for strengthening belief in one's ability to change habits. 1. Find a group or support system. As we saw with Alcoholics Anonymous, having a group of like-minded people who are committed to the same goals can be an invaluable source of motivation. Whether it's a fitness class, a study group, or a support network for addiction recovery, surrounding yourself with others who share your goals can help you believe that change is possible. 2. Start with small successes. When trying to change a habit, it's important to celebrate small victories along the way. Each success, no matter how minor, reinforces the belief that change is possible. By setting achievable goals and recognizing your progress, you build momentum and strengthen your belief in your ability to change. 3. Visualize success. Visualization can also be a powerful tool in cultivating belief. By imagining the desired outcome, whether it's a healthier lifestyle, improved productivity, or overcoming an addiction, you create a mental image of success. This visualization reinforces the belief that achieving the goal is not only possible, but within reach. 4. Reframe negative thoughts. Often people sabotage their own belief by focusing on failures or setbacks. Duhigg suggests reframing negative thoughts to maintain a positive mindset. Instead of thinking I can't do this, reframe it as I haven't done this yet, but I'm on the right path. This shift in thinking helps to maintain belief even in the face of challenges. The influence of the subconscious mind on belief. Duhigg also explores the idea that belief is closely linked to the subconscious mind. Many habits are formed unconsciously and are driven by deep-seated beliefs that we are not always aware of. These beliefs, whether positive or negative, can either support or hinder our ability to change. For instance, someone who has deeply ingrained beliefs about their inability to succeed at something, whether it's quitting smoking or running a marathon, may find it difficult to make lasting changes. In contrast, someone who believes in their own ability to achieve goals is more likely to stick with the process even when it's difficult. The key to changing habits is not just consciously trying to change behaviors, but also addressing the underlying subconscious beliefs that shape those behaviors. This can involve using techniques like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, or self-reflection to identify and challenge limiting beliefs, the science behind belief. Duhigg also presents scientific research to show how belief impacts habit change on a biological level. When people believe that they are capable of change, their brains release chemicals like dopamine and endorphins, which help reinforce positive behaviors. This is why people often feel a rush of satisfaction when they accomplish small goals or make progress in breaking a bad habit. These chemical reactions are part of the brain's reward system, and they play a significant role in motivating people to continue their efforts. In contrast, when people believe that they are destined to fail or that change is impossible, the brain produces stress-related chemicals like cortisol, which make it more difficult to stay focused and committed to the goal. This explains why maintaining a positive belief in the ability to change can create a self-reinforcing loop of success, where each success strengthens the belief and motivates further positive action. Conclusion. In summary, belief is a cornerstone of habit change. Without belief in the possibility of change, it's difficult to overcome the inertia of bad habits or to commit to developing new ones. Whether it's through social support, small successes, visualization, or reframing negative thoughts, belief can be cultivated and strengthened over time. Moreover, belief influences the subconscious mind and can trigger positive chemical responses in the brain, making change not only possible but also sustainable. By nurturing belief, we give ourselves the foundation we need to break old habits and create new, healthier routines. Point 9. The role of beliefs in habit formation. In The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg explores how beliefs are integral to the formation and change of habits. While habits are formed through cues, routines, and rewards, they are not solely driven by automatic responses or environmental factors. Our beliefs, the way we think about ourselves and the world, play a crucial role in determining whether or not a habit can stick or change over time. This point underscores the importance of self-belief, trust in the process, and understanding the impact of mindset on habit change. Beliefs as a foundation for habit change. When it comes to habit formation, or breaking bad habits, belief acts as the foundation for the process. For example, if someone is trying to break a bad habit like smoking, their belief system can be a major factor in whether or not they succeed. If they believe they can change their behavior, they are more likely to stick with the change over time. In contrast, if they don't believe in their ability to change, they are more likely to give up, even when their behavior shows small signs of improvement. Duhigg argues that beliefs create a self-fulfilling prophecy. This means that if individuals believe they are capable of success, they are more likely to engage in the necessary actions to build new habits or break old ones. Conversely, if people lack confidence in their ability to change, they are less likely to even try. This belief in oneself is a crucial element in habit formation that goes beyond the mechanics of the habit loop itself. Cue, routine, reward. The science of belief and habit formation. Research presented in The Power of Habit highlights how belief systems can influence the brain's ability to create new habits. When people believe they have the power to change, their brains become more adaptable, which facilitates the process of rewiring neural pathways that support new behaviors. This is in line with neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change its structure and function based on experiences and learning. If individuals believe they can change, the brain creates new neural connections that help them engage in new habits and routines. On the other hand, if individuals believe that change is not possible, the brain's neural pathways related to their old habits remain strong, making it much harder to replace the old habits with new ones. This is why belief plays such a critical role. It directly affects the brain's ability to adapt and shift its automatic responses, which is the core process of habit change. The power of group beliefs and support. In The Power of Habit, Duhigg also discusses the role of social groups and collective beliefs in habit formation. Beliefs are not only shaped by our personal experiences, but also by the communities and social circles we belong to. For example, people who join support groups, such as Alcoholics Anonymous AA, often experience a shift in their belief systems because they are surrounded by others who share similar goals and values. Support groups provide a shared belief in the possibility of change. This collective belief strengthens individual resolve and increases the chances of success. When people are surrounded by others who have successfully changed their habits, they begin to believe that they can do the same. Duhigg highlights that group-based support systems help individuals form new beliefs about their abilities and their potential for change, which in turn supports their habit formation process. Transforming negative beliefs into positive action. One of the challenges in habit formation is dealing with negative beliefs that hold individuals back. These can be beliefs like, "I've never been able to stick to a diet," or "I'm not the kind of person who exercises regularly." Duhigg explains that these negative beliefs are often the result of past failures, and they create mental barriers that make it difficult to change. To break these negative beliefs, Duhigg suggests small successes as a strategy. Each small win, whether it's resisting a bad habit for a day, sticking to a workout routine for a week, or making a healthier food choice, can gradually shift an individual's belief in their own abilities. As people experience success, their beliefs begin to change, and they are more likely to take further steps to build better habits. For example, someone who struggles with unhealthy eating habits might begin by making one small change, say cutting out soda. When they succeed in this small change, they might feel more empowered to take on a larger change, such as incorporating more vegetables into their diet. Over time, these small successes accumulate, and the individual begins to develop a belief in their ability to change their behavior. The role of identity in beliefs. Duhigg also emphasizes the concept of identity and its impact on habits. People's beliefs about who they are fundamentally shape their behavior. If someone identifies as an unhealthy eater or a smoker, they are more likely to engage in behaviors that align with that identity. However, if they begin to identify as someone who is healthy or a non-smoker, their actions will gradually shift to reflect this new identity. The key takeaway here is that identity-based habits are much more powerful than those based on short-term goals. When habits are aligned with a person's identity, they become part of who they are, and change becomes much more sustainable. For instance, rather than setting a goal to lose 10 pounds, an individual might reframe their mindset by thinking, "I'm someone who takes care of my body and makes healthy choices." This shift in identity reinforces the belief that the person is capable of sustained change and success. Beliefs in corporate habits. Duhigg also explores the influence of beliefs within organizations. He presents the example of Target and how the company used data to understand its customers' buying habits. Target discovered that certain purchasing behaviors, such as buying pregnancy-related products, could indicate significant life changes. By understanding these behavioral triggers, Target tailored its marketing strategies and personalized offers to customers in ways that aligned with their beliefs about themselves as parents or expectant mothers. In this case, the company used belief-based marketing to strengthen its relationship with consumers and influence their purchasing habits. Beliefs are also critical in organizational habit formation. Leaders can influence their team members' beliefs, which in turn shapes the team's overall behavior and culture. Organizations that foster positive beliefs about success, growth, and learning tend to have employees who are more committed to creating positive changes and achieving long-term goals. How to cultivate positive beliefs? Duhigg provides several tips for cultivating positive beliefs that support habit formation. 1. Focus on identity. Instead of setting surface-level goals, focus on who you want to become. Make your habits part of your identity. For example, rather than aiming to lose weight, strive to be someone who values health and wellness. 2. Surround yourself with support. As shown in the case of support groups, being around others who share your goals and beliefs can strengthen your own belief in your ability to succeed. 3. Celebrate small wins. Each small success helps to build your confidence and belief in your ability to make lasting change. Take time to acknowledge these successes and use them as momentum for larger challenges. 4. Challenge negative beliefs. When negative beliefs arise, challenge them by reflecting on past successes and focusing on the positive progress you've made. This helps to reframe your thinking and strengthen your self-belief. Conclusion: beliefs are the driving force behind habit formation and change. By understanding the role of beliefs in our behavior, we can begin to shape our thoughts and actions in ways that lead to long-term success. Whether it's through shifting our identity, overcoming negative beliefs, or surrounding ourselves with supportive communities, the power of belief plays a crucial role in habit formation. By fostering positive beliefs about ourselves, we can unlock our potential and create lasting change in our habits and lives. Point 10. The power of keystone habits. In The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg introduces the concept of keystone habits, which play a critical role in shaping not only our individual habits, but also our broader behavior and life outcomes. Keystone habits are foundational habits that trigger a ripple effect, influencing other habits and leading to broader positive changes in a person's life. Duhigg argues that by focusing on changing one keystone habit, individuals can create a cascade of improvements across various aspects of their lives. What are keystone habits? Keystone habits are specific actions or behaviors that have a disproportionate impact on our lives. These are habits that do not just affect the area in which they are performed, but also trigger a series of positive changes in other areas. For instance, a person who develops the keystone habit of regular exercise might experience improvements in their physical health, mental well-being, and even social life. Keystone habits are particularly powerful because they set off a chain reaction. When we start focusing on improving one aspect of our behavior, it often leads to improvements in other areas as well. The core idea is that keystone habits are the tipping points that trigger broader lifestyle changes. The power of small wins, how keystone habits work. Duhigg emphasizes that keystone habits are effective because of the principle of small wins. When we take action on a keystone habit, it often leads to small successes that build momentum. These successes, no matter how small, make us feel more capable and confident, which in turn influences other areas of our lives. For example, if someone adopts the keystone habit of exercising every morning, they might experience an increase in energy levels and mood. This change might prompt them to make other positive changes, like eating healthier, sleeping better, or improving their productivity at work. These small wins build up and form a pattern of positive behaviors that are far-reaching. Keystone habits have the unique ability to trigger a positive cycle of success. They create a feedback loop where each success reinforces the other habits, leading to a more substantial overall transformation. Examples of keystone habits. One of the most prominent examples of a keystone habit is exercise. According to Duhigg, when people make exercise a regular part of their lives, it doesn't just affect their physical fitness, but also influences other aspects of their behavior. Regular exercise can lead to better sleep habits. As people get physically tired from exercise, they tend to sleep more soundly and regularly. Healthier eating habits. People who exercise often find that they are more conscious of their food choices and may start to eat healthier. Improved mood and reduced stress. Exercise helps in releasing endorphins, which improve mental well-being, making it easier to manage stress and anxiety. Increased productivity. Exercise can help sharpen focus and improve cognitive function, leading to better performance at work or in other areas of life. Another example of a keystone habit is planning the day ahead. Individuals who make the habit of planning their day in advance often experience an improvement in time management, reduced stress, and increased productivity. This habit influences other behaviors, such as organizing work tasks, prioritizing important activities, and managing energy levels throughout the day. In the long term, this can lead to greater success and satisfaction in life. Keystone habits in organizations. Keystone habits are not only relevant on an individual level, they can also have a profound impact on organizations. Duhigg explains how companies have used the concept of keystone habits to create lasting organizational change. For example, Starbucks has adopted a keystone habit focused on customer service. By prioritizing the training of employees to deliver exceptional customer experiences, Starbucks has created a culture that values service excellence. This habit has influenced other aspects of the company, from employee engagement to customer loyalty and even profitability. Similarly, Alcoa, the aluminum manufacturer, improved safety as a keystone habit, focusing on reducing workplace accidents. By making safety a top priority, Alcoa saw significant improvements not only in its safety record but also in its overall efficiency, product quality, and profitability. This shift to prioritize safety led to improvements in worker morale, increased innovation, and better overall performance. In these cases, the keystone habit acted as a catalyst for broader organizational transformation. By focusing on one critical area of change, both companies were able to spark a domino effect that resulted in a more positive, productive, and successful work environment. How to identify and develop your keystone habits? Duhigg suggests that in order to leverage the power of keystone habits, we need to identify which habits have the potential to create positive ripple effects in our lives. Here are some steps to help identify and develop keystone habits. 1. Identify the area where you want change. Start by assessing which aspects of your life you want to improve. Do you want to be healthier, more productive, or more organized? Identifying the key area you want to focus on will help you find a keystone habit that aligns with your goals. 2. Look for habits that lead to positive side effects. Consider which habits might trigger other positive changes. For example, if you're looking to be healthier, exercise could be the keystone habit that improves not just your fitness, but also your mood, sleep, and diet. 3. Start small. Keystone habits don't need to be big, complicated actions. They can be simple but powerful behaviors. For instance, you could start with a daily 10-minute walk or a 5-minute meditation practice. 4. Be consistent. Once you've identified your keystone habit, focus on making it a consistent part of your routine. Consistency is key to ensuring that the habit can create the ripple effect of positive changes you desire. 5. Track your progress. Keep track of how your keystone habit is affecting other areas of your life. Are you feeling more energized, focused, or productive? Tracking your progress can help reinforce the habit and keep you motivated to continue. The importance of persistence in keystone habits. One of the most important takeaways from Duhigg's discussion on keystone habits is the importance of persistence. Developing a keystone habit is not an overnight process. It requires time, patience, and dedication. The first few weeks or months may be difficult, and you may not see immediate results, but the key is to keep going. Duhigg emphasizes that success is built on small, consistent actions. While developing a keystone habit may seem challenging at first, the long-term benefits of having a positive habit in place are well worth the effort. As you continue to reinforce your keystone habit, it will become ingrained in your daily routine, and the ripple effect will take hold, leading to broader changes in your life. How to identify and develop your keystone habits. Duhigg suggests that in order to leverage the power of keystone habits, we need to identify which habits have the potential to create positive ripple effects in our lives. Here are some steps to help identify and develop keystone habits. 1. Identify the area where you want change. Start by assessing which aspects of your life you want to improve. Do you want to be healthier, more productive, or more organized? Identifying the key area you want to focus on will help you find a keystone habit that aligns with your goals. 2. Look for habits that lead to positive side effects. Consider which habits might trigger other positive changes. For example, if you're looking to be healthier, exercise could be the keystone habit that improves not just your fitness but also your mood, sleep, and diet. 3. Start small. Keystone habits don't need to be big, complicated actions. They can be simple but powerful behaviors. For instance, you could start with a daily 10-minute walk or a 5-minute meditation practice. 4. Be consistent. Once you've identified your keystone habit, focus on making it a consistent part of your routine. Consistency is key to ensuring that the habit can create the ripple effect of positive changes you desire. 5. Track your progress. Keep track of how your keystone habit is affecting other areas of your life. Are you feeling more energized, focused, or productive? Tracking your progress can help reinforce the habit and keep you motivated to continue. The importance of persistence in keystone habits. One of the most important takeaways from Duhigg's discussion on keystone habits is the importance of persistence. Developing a keystone habit is not an overnight process. It requires time, patience, and dedication. The first few weeks or months may be difficult, and you may not see immediate results, but the key is to keep going. Duhigg emphasizes that success is built on small, consistent actions. While developing a keystone habit may seem challenging at first, the long-term benefits of having a positive habit in place are well worth the effort. As you continue to reinforce your keystone habit, it will become ingrained in your daily routine, and the ripple effect will take hold, leading to broader changes in your life.